So now we're going to talk about creating a basis for the image. Now, the important thing to note here, so we're going to move on to basis for image. T. And the important thing here is that the span of the set T, or the span of the set, let me erase this, T v1, T v2, or T e1, T e2, T e3 equals the image of T. So I have a spanning set. If I take all the vectors, they are a spanning set. The trick is it's not necessarily linearly independent. We want a linearly independent spanning set. And there was a process we had that we talked about in week 3 and week 4 of converting a spanning set into a linearly independent spanning set. And the process that we did is, one, consider A v1 plus B v2 plus, or A1 v1 plus A2 v2 all the way up to AN vn equaling 0. To solve for echelon form of homogeneous system of equations. And then the third step that we have is that taking the vectors corresponding to the free variables gives a linearly independent set with the same span. Well, what does this mean? It means that I can take what I've done here, where I've got my linear combination of those vectors. I got the echelon matrix here, and I've got my free variable, which corresponds to A. And that's my only free variable. So if I just take the vector that corresponds to A, the set containing T of E1 is a basis for the image. I just take those free variables, take what scalar they represent, and go and collect that vector. Well, up here, I know I've computed what T of V1, T of V2, and T of V3 are going to be, or in this case, T of E1, T of E2, T of E3. So because this one is the vector I'm choosing, I can look at what its output is, and this vector is my basis, the set 1 minus 1. That is the basis for the image. So I can go down here, and my basis is the set 1, V1. And I don't need to do any more work than what I've already done, because I just go back to my system of equations. I take the vectors that correspond to my free variables. I look at what their computed output is, whatever it is here, and I use those to create my basis. So just, oh, slight mistake. This should be corresponding to my basic variables. So I take the vectors that correspond to the basic variables. This is a linearly independent set with the same span. So be sure to take the vectors that correspond to your basic variables when creating your image, not your free variables.